Everyone, welcome to BurningMonkey.net. So in this tutorial, it's strictly about layers. What a layer is, how to use layers, and so on and so forth. So the first thing I'm going to do is to create a new project here. And you can select any presets that you want. So this here is the default background layer that we get. In order to get rid of it, we just double click it and we can click OK. And you can also select if the color you want, the type of mode, and here's some effects. But for this, and also opacity, so how much white from 0 to 1, 1 being the most, and like 0.5 being at the middle. And that's just the transparency. Anyway, gonna go ahead and click OK. And so this here is the layer 0. This is the layer tab, and if we go window, and I believe here we go, window layers. So let's say you don't have this view, or you closed it accidentally. Go to window layers and it'll pop up right here, and these here adjustments are for your layers. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and come down here to this little guy right here, and it says create new layer, and if you click that, that basically means that you can create a new layer, and this one will be transparent. So this is the eye, the visibility, the eye. If you click it, it'll hide the previous layer, or the layer that you clicked, and it'll show what layer 1 is. So layer 1 is a transparent layer right now, and there is nothing here. So if I come over to the brush tool and go ahead and draw something, not only will you draw it on your canvas, but you can also see it in the little mini view, mini display port of the little layer 1, right? So all in all, this is cool, right? But why use layers? Why not use the same layer? Well, the reason being that you can change things. So let's say I wanted to add something above it, but I didn't like that, so I went to go ahead and just turn it off. Or let's say I want the blue above. All you simply do is take layer 2 and drag it below layer 1, and there you go, the blue is now right above. Now let's say I wanted to move something, so you click on the layer and you click the move tool, or you press V on the keyboard, and now you can move this around. And then if you click on layer 2, you can move the green around. So just with that alone is a good reason why having layers is a good thing. Now another good trick, I just went ahead and created a new layer. Another good trick or a thing to do when you're working on something, and let's say I wanted to take a screenshot of this, or I wanted to put these two, layer 1 and layer 2 together into layer 3, what you do is you hit Control Alt Shift and E, or on a Mac that's Command Alt Shift and E. So when I go ahead and press that, and now if I turn layer, I guess it created its own layer, so I turn off layer 3, 1 and 2, and now you'll notice that these two are on the same layer. So if I click on layer 4, I should be able to move these two things together. Now when you're working in Photoshop, layers, you'll get used to this, but the thing that you have to do is, let's say I clicked on layer 1 and I'm trying to move this, and you're like, what the heck, whatever is visible is not moving. The reason why it's not being moved is because I'm selected at layer 1. So make sure that the layer that you have selected is moving. Otherwise, then you'll realize that you have the wrong layer selected. So now if I turn back layer 1, I'll notice, and turn layer 4 off, I'll notice that, hey, layer 1 was moved. So then that could throw off your whole project. So just remember, when working in layers, have the layer that you want selected. Okay, so with that said, if we come down here, there's an FX tab, and with this effects tab you can add different effects to it, like an outer glow, and this actually gives you an outer glow here. Let's change it to something more obvious. You can start to see the yellow and the spread, and we can change the size to make it bigger, and then you can see the outer glow. Let's say you don't want the outer glow, so you just uncheck this, and let's say I want a stroke, and you click on the tab, or else you won't see the, so if I'm in the wrong tab you won't see the stroke tab. So you just click on the stroke tab, and here you can see you can change the size of it, and whether you want it inside or outside, and even center. And we'll go ahead and put back outside, and type of blending, and you can just play with those. And the opacity, of course, is the transparency. And there's some more things you can play with. Anyway, I hit cancel. So that's why it's an effects tab. And now the next thing we should look at is the masks tab. So with this, we just created a mask. So let's say I didn't want to delete something. You can literally go and click on the eraser tool here, or E on the keyboard, and start erasing. However, if let's say you wanted to keep that in case maybe this was a picture that you were photoshopping or something like that, and you wanted to just basically just hide it for now, you might want to come back to it, or you might want to readjust it and like basically zoom in and work with it really closely, but you didn't want to delete it. So with this mask, and the reason or how you know that it's a mask is that you have this thumbnail right next to your regular layer thumbnail, and with that white, when you're using the brush tool, white color will reveal and black will hide, as you will see. I'm not actually erasing. So if you go over here and you notice that you're in the brush tool and you have black selected and you're just painting, you actually still have that. So if I switch with the little swatch here, you click on this little double arrow and you switch, and now I have white, you can repaint that. So this is really great when you have like small things you have to get into, or you just want to change one thing but continue to have that image there, so that you're not deleting or removing anything. This is great for that. Alright, so that's the other thing that I want to show, which is really good, and that's basically just masks. And there's a lot of things you can do with masks, and once you start getting used to using Photoshop and playing around with these little tools, you'll start to feel more comfortable in knowing when and where to use these. And the next thing is the create a group tool. So you create a group, and let's say you were working on like a photo of I don't know, you're an animator and you're just animating, or you're drawing the face, and the face is in a bunch of layers, so you just say face, and then you click, hold shift, and then click, click, hold shift, select all the layers that belong to the face, click and drag it into the face, and now you have them all in this nice, neat, small folder. And of course, within the folder you can select whether you want to show them or hide them. And the good thing about this is that if you have them all in a folder, you can just basically hide them all with one click, and then there you go, they're all, the face is gone, and now you can continue to work in a clean workspace, drawing the body or the hands or the feet or whatever you were working on next. So that is an awesome tool. And of course, like I said, you can always hide. So let's say I didn't want layer 4, 3, 2, and 0, and now I can minimize the folder, and now with the eye tool I can just hide that one layer that's being revealed or visible at that time. So that's really cool. So the next thing is the adjustments, and this is basically it's literally the brightness and contrast, pattern and gradient, solid color, levels, and the hue, saturation, white and black. Let's say you want a black and white image, you just click on that and it'll automatically do its thing and select the presets for that, and then you can adjust the darkness using these little levers here. And let's say you didn't want that, you can always turn it off and just see which one you like it better, or you can just click it and delete. So Photoshop is really easy. It doesn't force anything on anything, and you have the option to remove or turn it off or adjust those things. Alright, so next thing is the solid color here, but I'm going to go ahead and click on this layer. So here's solid color, and it'll just cover the entire layer. So if I click on layer 0, so right now it's white, you just go to solid let's go to solid color, and you can change what that looks like. So go ahead and select this kind of darkish gray, and now if I click on this layer 1, and we have this blue, right? So let's say this wasn't done, like in Photoshop, if you hit the wand tool or W on the keyboard, you can select all whatever is of that color. And now you'll notice that it's also selecting the one that's in the hidden layer 1. So if I actually click on layer 1 and I click on this, you're still going to be selecting the entire thing. So I go back in here, and if I click on this, it's going to select this. So I can actually click on the B for the brush, so click on the brush and change the color. So right now the green is selected. I can come in here and draw green. Now that's okay if it's just a small change or something that's not so like right here we have this little opening here, and let's say that's part of the logo and you needed that, but you didn't want to come in here and just what I did, just paint it all. So Photoshop, if we go into the effects, has a color overlay. As you can see, it's already changed it to the red. You can come in here with any color, and we had this green. Now as long as you're in a color picker, you have this little color because a color it's a I can't think of the word. Basically this little icon here is the cursor. This will select anything. It's an eyedropper, that's what it is. So you can select any color that's on your canvas. So right now I selected the gray, and you'll notice that it changes here. It says the current was red and the new color is now darkish gray, black. And now I can also select the green that I had over here in the swatch, and then it'll automatically change to that, or this other orangey color, and I'll switch it back to green, and then you can click OK and OK, and that's it. So that's a really easy way to change a color. And now these adjustments are pretty much the same thing that we had over here. Where are they? Right here. These are basically the same ones, adjustment layers. And you can do pretty much the same thing. These are just ones that people that use Photoshop to fix photos use more often. And curves, it's one of those things that is good to know, and this just adjusts the color and makes them tighter. So you can use these points, or you can use these points, and as you can see, it's changing the color. You can also go into just a specific color, like if you have various colors and one color looked off, you can just adjust that one color, and you can add or subtract more. And of course you'll notice that there's a little graph here, and that's where your colors actually start. So right now there's no red in this image, so it's all the way far back over here, and you can go and do that to any of these colors or all the colors together, and that's why the spectrum is slightly more outward here. And you can even add more points, make your own curves and whatnot, and of course more color pickers. And if you didn't like that, as you can see, it created a curve layer, adjustment layer, and you can just delete that. And you if you press the delete key, and if you don't have or can use the delete key, you can always click and drag your layer all the way down to the trash can, and it'll get destroyed, and your adjustments will become deleted and won't be there anymore. Alright, so what else can we do with layers? There is if we go up here to the menu and we go to where is it? Here in filters, there is a filter gallery, and within that gallery there are some preset filters that you can use. As you can see, Rough Pastel, and created this kind of like pastel slash texturized pattern on whatever you've got. And now of course if you have an image, it actually looks a lot better. So if you're adjusting something, you should check these out if you're feeling creative and want to adjust some things. And of course you have adjustments on the side that you can do and change those things here, and they're just really fun to play with and figure out what is making your picture image look outstanding. Of course, creating textures, these tools here, these stylizing here, the adjustments will make your textures look definitely a ton better. So with that said, those are your layers. The last thing I just want to show you is the lock. So let's say I had, let's see, so the color fill, let's say I'm going to do something, I'm going to create a new layer, go to the brush, it's already selected, and select the white because it's going to stand out with the black background. And I'm just going to do a quick doodle here. Let's say I had snow here. And I know that the snow is always going to stay in layer 5. It's always going to stay in the back, and I never want to touch it accidentally. So if I had this selected, or it was clicked accidentally and I was trying to move something and it got moved, I know I'm going to be moving something slightly, and I don't want to even touch it with this layer. You just click on the lock tool, and now even if you try to brush, this is selected, you get this, cannot use the brush tool because the layer is locked. You also get this no symbol on the layer until you click on another layer, and right now you're not getting that. You're getting that same no because the target layer is hidden. So as soon as you click on the layer, and now I can go ahead and draw on the layer and undo, Control Z, and I can lock this one if I need to, or I can just have it like that. And of course you can lock any layers that you want, you just have to have them visible, and now you can hide them. So there you go. Now in terms of like Control Z and undoing, I'm going to demonstrate that real quick. So a lot of people usually tend to just keep working, and then they figure out, oh, I forgot to do something back here. And you're like, you hit Control Z and you're like, oh man, that's it, that's all I can get. And you hit Control Z again and it just basically redraws it. If you go here, you can keep stepping backwards, step backwards, step backwards, or you can go to the History tab, which is right here. And if you don't have that available, you go to Window and History. So History, and then it pops up. And you can keep going back in time. So all the way at the bottom is what you just recently did. See? And you can keep working back until we reach that point. And there you go, 1, 2, and then you can go. But remember that you only have a certain amount of steps. So make sure you're not just trying to go back really far back. So just think about what your project is so that you don't make that many mistakes and you can keep going back when you need to, but not having to rely on the history as a tool and just using it whenever you need to. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe, have a good one, and I'll see you on the next one.